turned out to be really something. So what I'd like to share is very much in the way that we've just been talking about, comes from something very dear to my heart. My background is in therapeutic nature connection, has been for a really long time. I really feel that this is something that is innate within all of us, every single being on the planet. And from my own personal perspective as a shamanic counselor and working with nature for some years, so introducing people to the benefits of nature is an absolute delight. So I've just been having an absolutely wonderful time hearing all you guys, what you've been sharing. So my little contribution is around looking at our language just a little bit, around nature, and how we connect using our language, and the magical ways that language opens out that pathway to connection, and also what it actually means to each and every one of us to connect, and to think a little bit about which bits of us connect to what bits of nature, and really what is nature. Nature is all of us, and we are, as many people think that we are one. You, as many is of nature and ourselves, is that we are part of it, and that it's an honor to be part of it in this world. And one of my favorite things, and I've shared about this before, is something called a sit spot, where we can just basically calm down. We were all totally captivated by Rakesh earlier when he was talking about the community forest garden and his passion. The real love that's there is magical, and it's catching. And this is the sort of thing that we really want to share with one another. So the sit spot, it starts with this beauty of just being in nature. And it's lovely to hear that so many people are having that opportunity to do that. So what happens when we can't have that sit spot in nature, and the experience of people being in lockdown, has brought that bigger question to light. So many people have not had the opportunity to go out, but it has caused a great deal of wanting to go out, which is superb. So my experience has been to share with people on the internet, two groups, ways that we can communicate, and the word is communicate, I feel, to life as being all of life. And Rakesh was talking about diversity, and how important diversity really is, and also Pritam, it's so incredibly beautiful what you were sharing there. Diversity and all of life, they're really profound, aren't they? And for years I've had on my email something that I wrote because it really means something to me. So every time I send an email, I can see it, as I am an advocate for the return to honorable intimacy with ourselves and all of life, with nature and all of life. So, this is very much on my heart. So when I read Robert Macfarlane's book, and this, I'm going to share a little bit about it with you. And I'll just try and find the name of the book. It's called Underland. Isn't that lovely? Underland. It's a deep time journey, encountering the depths and complexity of communication. And he starts by explaining and sharing a deep emotional experience where he first learnt about the connection that trees have with one another, and the depth of that connection that trees have with one another, while he was visiting a friend who was in fact coming to the end of his life. But his friend lived in the forest in a wood house that he had built, and his whole life had been with trees. So you're getting the theme here. and beginning to go in. So there was Robert talking to his friend in a place where his friend had built. His friend was on his last days, and lovingly, incredibly, the passion that came over to Robert, which he wrote about later, is this beauty of exchange that his friend was able to share with Robert, the beauty of the forest and the generosity of spirit of what the healing comes, where the healing comes from the forest, you know. And so you can imagine this spirit that's coming through from a dying man is incredible, especially when this particular man had planted thousands of trees, watched them grow, and was so excited to share with Robert the new research that had come from a young Canadian, and we've heard from Canada earlier as well, from Pritam, ecologist called Suzanne Simard, or Simard probably. She was studying the understory of logged forests in Canada. So what she found was incredible, but for me and many people like myself, it was just a joy to hear, and just a relief, really, that, you know, that we can start talking to plants in a much more open way. It really makes tree hugging just on a different level, something I've done since I was a child. And all you guys probably have as well, you know, even those ones that don't want to admit it. There's nothing like a good hug from a tree, is there, really? So, you know, and that is a way that I'd like you to see it, this little chat, because the hug from the tree, okay? We talk about hugging the tree, but we get hugs from the tree too. And so there's this reciprocal beauty that comes from it. So what they found, which was amazing, and Rakesh, I can feel the excitement of talking about mycelium, because I know it's one of your favorite, but the mycelium under the trees grow and connect every tree in the forest. And the researchers found this, which was incredibly beautiful, the way that it was connected. And in 1 teaspoon of forest soil, there is 7 miles of mycelium, which are, if you don't know what mycelium is, they're the little plants that grow mushrooms. So you see the mushrooms, there's millions of kinds of mushrooms, and they're incredible. But underneath the mushroom is the real body of the plant, and these myceliums grow, and they have an incredible relationship with the trees. And if you imagine that trees are so much more older than we are, they've been on the planet so much longer, they've developed a communication system. Oh, thank you, Rakesh. There we are. So now you can really imagine. So they've developed this communication system, which I think is over and above our own. In fact, you know, some people call it the wood wide web. There is so much about nature that we love to emulate. That's the right word. So it's really exciting to think that. So this lovely Canadian, she decided to inject carbon isotypes into one tree and see where they went. And what happened was that it didn't just stay in that tree, it actually went to many trees. And you might ask yourself, why did they even want to look at this in the first place? Well, the strange thing, you know, it was actually money orientated, in that some of the little Douglas fir trees were dying when the birch trees that had self-seeded were growing in the logging woodlands. So they wanted to find out how that they could, you know, what was going on. But they actually found that instead of the birch trees being a danger, they were actually a help. They were helping in many ways, in actual ways, in a physical way, that they found that the larger trees would feed the smaller trees. So this communication's going on all the time. But also there was an interconnection, and I'm sure that lots of you have read about this, about more yourselves, and so you know it. So I'll just get the nitty gritty, so to speak. But there's much more than the physical connection of of the food being exchanged, where they knew when plants needed extra support. They knew when the trees, other members of their community, their family, they live in family groups often. Even if you look at the skyline of trees, you will see that they form the most beautiful skyline images. And it's because they actually care for one another. They care who's getting the light. They are competitive as well. It's fascinating when you jump into the world of trees. But, you know, they're almost like, they're so ancient. So how can we connect, you know? How do we connect with this beauty? I'm just going to check on the time here. So what they found was the forest silent that the trees are, that they're not really silent at all. And anyone that takes the time to walk into the forest has realized this, that actually, you know, the more still we are, the more we realize how much is going on and what that connectivity can give us. So we need to take a leaf out of their book, if you like, and start to really deepen our relationship with the beauty that's all around us, and the magic that we can bring into our lives and everyone else's lives. So I'm doing my own little investigations at the moment, which has been instigated, if you like, by the lockdown. And I have found in my groups and working with people on one-to-one that we can bring in nature by giving our attention to nature, and that much in the same way, I mean, if you've walked in a forest, you certainly feel that you're not alone, yeah? But, you know, much in the same way that we can walk physically through the forest, our minds are so innately in tune with so much in our subconscious that we can naturally connect, even if we're in a room, and more wonderfully so with when others are there, or we do it, even if we are apart. You know, many of you will now be recognizing this wonderful connection we can have over Zoom, and how deep we can actually go with each other, which is superb. So my research, my own personal research, is going further on that, on metaphors. So I think I'd like to, if I can, read a tiny wee bit of this the beautiful way that Robert actually writes. And then might have a few minutes then. Don't want to take up, I want to leave 10 minutes. So we've got 10 minutes, and then I can leave 10 minutes for feedback or anything else that anybody wants to say, and checkouts and things like that. So if I share with you some of the beautiful writings about language. I'm just going to find it for you. So this is what I think strikes me about the beauty of language. This is from Robert. The day I read aloud a poem that was important to both of us, Birches by Robert Frost, in which climbing the snow-white trunks of birches comes both a readying for death and a declaration of life. Then he told me about new research he had recently read concerning the interrelations of trees, how when one of their number was sickening or under stress, they would share nutrients by means of an underground system that co-joined their roots beneath the soil, thereby sometimes nursing the sick tree back to health. It was a measure of my friend's generosity of spirit that so close to death himself, he could speak unjealously of this phenomena of healing. He did not have the strength then to tell me the details of how his below ground sharing operated, how tree might visibly reach out to tree within the soil, but I could not forget the image of that mysterious buried network joining single trees to the forest commodities. It was planted in my mind and there took root over the years, I would encounter other mentions of same extraordinary idea. And gradually these isolated fragments began to collect together to something like understanding. So it does take a while for this beauty to come in to us. And if you, because our lives are so busy, aren't they? Yeah, which is, so we need to stop and wait, and it's a beautiful place, the forest. So what I'd like to do is to invite you all to come with me on a little walk through the forest, but it will be your forest. Okay, but I'd like you to imagine the forest that brought so much life and zealous and beauty to those words, and the deepness of connection. So just for 5 minutes, so I'm just going to check the time again. Yeah, we've got 5 minutes just for you to go on your own little forest walk. And hopefully you won't mind me using a drum. The drum is usually quite comforting to the mind. Our minds, they like the drum. So it's a nice little background anyway. So you can get yourself into a nice snuggly place, and if you'd like to, you can close your eyes. And we're going to very, very gently just start to walk down a forest path. And as we walk down the forest path, it might be nice of you to feel gratitude for where you are, because this could be a memory where you've been. It could be a yearning for where you'd like to go. But what this is a path of desire. A path of desire into the forest. So this can be a path of desire that you wish to make, or a path of desire that you've already been on. So it's just a gentle walk, and you can close your eyes and imagine it further. The beauty of the forest. As the light falls through the trees, and it's dappled by your feet. It's soft to every step. What can you hear going through the forest? What can you connect to? It's a time to open your heart, to know that you are safe in the forest. It's a safe place to be. Somewhere we're always accepted as ourselves. We can feel into the deepest wisdom, take some understanding for the communications in our own life. Those tiny, tiny, tiny myceliums that connect all the trees together. The communications, checking on every tree. Wondering how they are. They just do it. It's a natural thing. So as you walk down, you're taking in the serenity, the beauty, but also you're giving back by just appreciating. From my own experience, there's a lot of joy comes back from pure appreciation, from gratitude, from feeling our place in that moment, in this small time. Just taking it down to moment by moment, slowing down second by second, taking in what you can take, giving out your heart to the open space. This is actually food to the forest, you know? And the more you do this, the more you realize how the reciprocation of our awe, you know, the beauty of awe, adoration really, acceptance, acknowledging that all of life is precious. All of life is precious. And when you're in the forest, you see big tall trees looking after the small ones, and there's so much information there. But the one thing is this beauty of acceptance. So now that you've enjoyed your walk through the forest and seen what you've seen, given your heart to the forest and received the healing that just so naturally comes, you're turning and you're walking back the way you came. And you know you're leaving, and it's a funny thing, isn't it? When we're leaving something, we just want to say thank you. It's a time of thanks, a time of celebration. And all the words that we'd like to say, or maybe should have said before to people that we connect to, suddenly starts to come out just as we're saying goodbye. Goodbyes can take a while. So say those goodbyes and give your thanks to the forest. Bring yourself wholly and absolutely and back to the room in which you're in. And wiggle your toes. Wiggle your fingers. Open your eyes. Thank you for coming on our little walk. I'll just give you a moment to come back. That was delightful for me to be able to share my love of the forest with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to leave a few minutes now for you guys to share anything you'd like to share. And I know that we've got a checkout as well. So how are you all doing?
So I went to the
quiet
forest.
and whooshy in. That was really nice.
So I went to the forest and I found these.
Ah, beautiful.
Some
Are you
of
going to
you-
plant it?
Well, do you know what that is? Some of you might know.
Yeah, it's a prickly, ancient.
It's a beech nut.
Oh, peach nut. Oh,
Yeah.
oh you're eating it. Oh,
Well-
how wonderful.
I should peel it first before I try to eat it. That one's nothing in there. Oh well.
How nice, peach nut.
Also,
It's
went for a
crumbly.
forage and I found these.
Oh,
That's a little bit more unusual.
yeah, isn't that the ancient one?
Not many people will recognise that.
Well, I can see it.
Hundreds of them. It's a monkey puzzle nut. Very tasty. Monkey puzzle tree. Takes about 50 years before it starts fruiting. And yeah, again, just wild stuff from the urban forest. So,
Wonderful.
yeah, it's amazing. The forests are really, if you know what to look for, the forests really take care of you. They're really abundant and rich. But it's the edge of this forest. The edge of the forest is just magical. So, wonderful. So should we do a collective checkout? So should we record this or should we stop live streaming? I think we should stop live streaming.
Okay.
This is for us now, private. So everyone on Facebook, thank you very much. Have fun, enjoy, we'll see you. Come join us next time. Click on the link, come in and have